This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hi there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter and welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday for today, August the 14th, was a promising star in the NCAA who was drafted by the New Jersey Nets in the 95 NBA draft, but only played 2 years in the NBA and would be a professional athlete for 8 years in Europe. Unfortunately, video game enthusiasts of the NCAA basketball and football series, like yours truly, will really hate this guy so much they would be making lots of angry things at the screen. Well, he's 51 years old now. His name, Bannon. Now, even if you don't know Bannon for his subsequent anger towards EA Sports and ruining a good thing if in the video game world, Bannon will be most remembered for what he did for UCLA in the 95 NCAA season. Anyway, he grew up in South Los Angeles, and South Los Angeles is as bad as they say it is sometimes. Bannon actually was going to head to UNLV. And he was attending to, but because when UNLV got put on probation because of the recruiting improprieties, which nearly cost them their 1990 NCAA title and their subsequent finalist spot in 91, Bannon actually rescinded his commitment and decided to attend UCLA. Unfortunately, before the start of practice at UCLA, in a pickup game, he tore his ACL. He was actually told he would not walk properly again, much less. But 18 months later, he returned to playing basketball after getting a graft from a cadaver. So somehow, in some way, Bannon actually could not walk again. In his first year, he came off the bench in 1992, 23 games, and didn't really start. In his second season, he actually was so good, he made the Pac-10 conference team. In his junior year, he was UCLA's MVP, and again, first team All-Pac-10. But his senior year is when he and his UCLA Bruins shone and all that. The 95 squad had a lot going for them. They were the top team in the Pac-10 and all that. But of course, UCLA had the burden of winning a national title because, under John Wooden, UCLA kept winning titles left, right, and center. So anyway, UCLA went to the NCAA tournament, took on Florida International, and beat them 92-56 in Boise. But it was their second game against Missouri, the 8th seed in the Western region. That was huge. Because UCLA had fallen at the first hurdle by Tulsa in 94, and then Tyus Edney, it's not Bannon, but Tyus Edney weaved through everybody and scored an unbelievable basket going from end to end, scoring against Missouri, and UCLA nearly won 75-74. It would have been a massive upset if Missouri had won. They would take care of Mississippi State and UConn, both games in Oakland at the arena, and they would take on Oklahoma State in the Final Four, win 74-61, and then took on my NCAA squad, Arkansas, and beat them 89-78. Of course, as a Arkansas fan, I'm pissed off. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But anyway, Bannon scored 30 points and 17 rebounds in the Final Four to be named most outstanding player. Just say MVP. My goodness. So anyway, he was named the Wooden Award winner in the NCAA, which is the top player in men's basketball. He was Pac-10 Co-Player of the Year, and UCLA retired his number 31 in 96. And Bannon would be ready to be drafted in the 95 NBA draft at the Skydome in Toronto. So teams had a chance to pick him. Golden State had a chance to take him because, it would have been perfect. Bannon wanted to play in the West Coast, and Golden State was based in California, and heck, they played their games at the Oakland Arena where UCLA won their Sweet 16 and quarterfinal games. But they went with Joe Smith from Maryland. Not really the best move. Smith would be better off as a Timberwolf later in his career. Antonio McDyess was picked by the Clippers second out of Alabama, and then was traded to Denver. Kind of a dumb move, if you ask me. The Clippers could have used McDyess. Meanwhile, Philly took Jerry Stackhouse from North Carolina. Washington took Rasheed Wallace from North Carolina. Yeah, Rasheed Wallace was was the fourth pick. Minnesota went off the board and took a high schooler by the name of Kevin Garnett. Vancouver could have taken him and put a Western team, but they took Big Country Reeves based on his job with Oklahoma State in the Final Four. And then Toronto fans were like, we're going to get the MVP of the NCAA tournament. They wanted Ed O'Banion. Bad news, Toronto fans. They went with the co-Pac-10 Player of the Year, which wasn't Ed O'Banion. It was David Stoudemire from Arizona. The fans went nuts. They were angry. Portland could have taken him, but they took Sean Westberg from Michigan State and then later traded him to Milwaukee. The Nets were up ninth, and they took Ed O'Banion. So he signed a 3-year deal. Unfortunately, O'Banion had some homesickness and all that. He was too lean to play down low and not quick enough with his rebuilt knees to guard the perimeter. His knees would break down and all that. In his second season, he was traded to Dallas. He was then traded to Orlando, but was released. He had confidence issues and all that. And he was a gigantic bust. 2 years in the NBA and he couldn't do it. Oh, and those Raptor fans who were pissed off they got Damon Stoudemire, they would be eating crow because Damon Stoudemire was named Rookie of the Year the next year and helped the Raptors become respectable. O'Banion went overseas through many countries and all that. He would go through arthroscopic knee surgery at age 32 and decided to retire. He didn't really have motivation and all that. O'Banion said he played for 12 teams in 6 countries with 15 different coaches. He was employed as a marketing director for a Las Vegas auto dealership. He became a probation officer in Las Vegas by 2020. Of course, he went to UNLV to continue earning his bachelor's degree. And then he went back to UCLA and got a degree in history. Ed O'Banion's younger brother Charles, was also on that UCLA squad in 95 and would play for the Pistons. He lives in Henderson, Nevada with his wife and 3 children. So yeah, he played 128 games in 2 seasons in the NBA with 5 points per game. Oh yes, let's not forget why Ed O'Banion kind of is known to the people nowadays. There was an antitrust class action lawsuit filed against the NCAA for players' likeness in the NCAA basketball and football games. I mean, it wasn't as bad in the 90s and 2000s because with the primitive technologies compared to what you'll see nowadays, it wasn't that bad. But once they had the customization and you could customize players based on historic rosters, like once NCAA basketball for PS2 and all that allowed you to do historical rosters, then they could do the likeness of the players and all that for commercial purposes. The suit argued that upon graduation, a student athlete should be entitled to some financial compensation for future commercial uses of their image by the NCAA. Oscar Robertson even joined in on this lawsuit. But in August 2014, it was ruled that the long-held practice of barring payments to athletes violated antitrust laws. Anyway, he published a book about that fight with the NCAA. Court Justice, the inside story of my battle against the NCAA. All that. After the Supreme Court ruled that the NCAA restricted trade in violation of the Sherman antitrust law, the NCAA allowed athletes to be compensated for their name, image, and likeness, so their NIL stuff. This is 2021. So this is the Alston suit is the one that is nowadays that players are being compensated for their name, image, and likeness. And unfortunately, transferring from school to school almost every year. It's like free agency in the other sports, major sports. But this is college. Like, dude. Seriously. And of course, the whole Bannon versus NCAA thing ruins the NCAA basketball and football franchises. Yes, NCAA 14 came out for the PS3. Well, sorry. NCAA football for the PlayStation came out a lot of times. I remember playing a few variations of the PS2 versions, having NCAA 11, the last PS2 football game, college football, game. And the fact of the matter is that, play the crap out of it. I've played many tournaments and all that. Yearly tournaments. December would be the yearly tournament of NCAA tournament, 64 teams, who would be number one and all that. And now, because I have a PS5 instead of a PS2 or even a PS3, that my NCAA football stuff, I have to go through Maximum Football and recreate stuff and all that. It won't be easy doing the 2023 tournament and all that. So yeah, NCAA basketball was off by 2010. They didn't last as long as NCAA football did. NCAA football was gone by 2014 from the systems. And now 2024, there's apparently going to be an NCAA football game for the generation. So hopefully, I still have my PS5, and hopefully I can grab that game in 2024 and do my tournaments and just be who I want to be and do my historical rosters and all that. It's going to be a challenge during the 2023 tournament, but I'm up for it. I really am. Say what you want about Bannon. Curse his name if you want to. But, I mean, I understand his thing and all. Maybe historical players, historical rosters should not have been there. Maybe it should have just been if you want to make historical players, then you just put them on the current teams and all that, and do dynasty mode with them, like I kind of did. So that's that. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do